Folks, welcome to an all new So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. This is your pal Ryan, and this is your Saturday episode. We're doing a recap of Real Housewives of Orange County, episode 8. Rough episode, you guys. Really super uneven. A lot of jump scares. Made me really dislike the game of The Traitors, and I actually really love the show The Traitors. So I was like, maybe it's really not a good game after all, but it was a really weird, uneven episode. I think there's a lot of stuff to dissect, as that's what we do, and I'll just babble on regardless. But we're going to riff about a couple of things first. So I'll put a timestamp if you want to skip straight to the recap, because we got some things to talk about before that. We are now 2 days removed from the horrific announcement that Alexis Bellino is engaged to John Janssen. And we got it. We saw that big rock on her finger, which, obviously that's why Johnny needs the $75,000 to be able to pay for that big of a rock. Imagine, imagine that. Imagine, I mean, true. I mean, it really boggles the mind, like how each week, and it really is so interesting that it happens during the season. There's like not just bombs dropped on the actual show, but really bigger bombs dropped outside of the show. I mean, and it almost seems, if I were somebody that actually did this for a living, that it almost seems planned in a sense. I mean, I hate to even suggest that. And I don't mean planned by the production company, but I do think there is um, a very interesting element to this that some of these announcements, especially from the John Janssen and Alexis Bellino camp, and a little bit of Tamra doing like press runs where she just is able to badmouth Shannon to a certain degree still, is that I don't know. This all seems heavily plotted. This week's episode did not have Alexis Bellino in it, but she was able to steal focus from that by the night before announcing this engagement. I mean, listen, this could be a complete coincidence. What an amazing coincidence that is. So, even though we're watching this episode, we're sitting there thinking about this unholy union of Alexis and Johnny J. By the way, I will say, and I've said this from the beginning, I think this is a very real relationship, but it's as real of a relationship as a relationship can be with two people that seem kind of predisposed to wanting media attention. As we talked about the other day, or maybe I did a TikTok about this, was that the People magazine, like they press released last December when they first started dating. That was a People exclusive in December of 2023. I'm just like, how many people are you guys dating out there where you're like, I should reach out to the press? Like, what it really is interesting, those kind of press releases. And in a way, I guess if you are aiming to get attention and to be in this kind of circus, it's a smart move. I think you have to deal with probably a lot of backlash and hate for something that is, for most people, a really beautiful moment. Now, there could be such a distortion field in terms of Alexis that she could just shrug off all of this, right? I think she limited comments on her Instagram post, which is great because I wouldn't even go there and leave a bad comment. I mean, no, like I that kind of stuff. I'll leave bad comments on my own Instagram page about Alexis and Johnny J, but I don't need to go over and do that. But I hope there is this distortion field with her because but at the same time, you think about it and you're like, well, I mean, she knows the forum she's in. She knows the Housewives. She wanted to be back on, and she got that. She got the love of her life, allegedly. And so everything's coming up Alexis if you don't take into account that her coming back on Orange County has been a wild flop so far. It's been entertaining to watch, and that's the thing where you guys hear me. I get really confused going over this in my head because on one hand, I enjoy watching the flop. I enjoy that. I think that's part of a healthy reality show viewing experience is watching one character flop. So there's a cringe factor to it that I think is essential in reality TV show viewing, but at the same time, the big reason that it's a flop is that she's just a pawn. She's just a device. She's a device to, instill further pain onto Shannon. She's being used in certain ways by Tamra. And like we said, I think if Alexis comes back another season, and I think at this point, because of this announcement, she will, Tamra will turn on Alexis at some point. That's just how Tamra operates. And if we have time, I want to go into a little bit of their history at the end of this show in terms of Alexis and Tamra, just because I feel like we have such a long memory and a short memory as an audience at the same time. And we don't really even realize how bad Tamra's been in the past. And in some ways, that's made her a great reality show housewife. But also their relationship, Alexis and Tamra, was that Tamra was so hard on Alexis, so much so that I would be very nervous if I was Alexis coming back on this show. And the way Tamra kind of open armed her, I think really brought down her defenses. And Tamra's been able to use her in whatever message she's trying to put out there. Tamra keeps saying, you'll see the rest of the season, you'll see. And that sounds great in a lot of ways. Like, I always want to see all the sides, what's going on, but the you'll see also is vaguely reminiscent of Lala Kent in this past week's episode of past season's episode of Vanderpump Rules, when she said, "Oh, you'll see at the reunion, you'll see," and I was like, "Oh my God, she's going to come out that like Ariana's a serial killer. She's got the proof." And then the reunion came and it was nothing. It was so much worse on Lala. So I don't know if I believe any of the you'll sees from Bravo reality show characters anymore, because it usually ends up being nada. And especially for Tamra, that kind of seems to have this gift of gab. And I mean, listen, you've got to give Tamra her flowers. You've got to, because she's kind of a brilliant marketer. And I know that's going to upset some people that I say that, but she is. I mean, I think she's a little clumsy with it, but she keeps people talking. She keeps people angry. And as I've said, especially this last couple of months, is that seems to be the whole name of the game now, is just getting people angry. She doesn't really care that there is so much proof of her being a really poor friend on this show. I don't know about in real life, but on this show. But she was able to do this. She was able to create a successful, I think she has a successful CBD business, a very successful podcast. She's producing other podcasts. So she's found this great lane that is a spinoff of Housewives, but it still is her. It's her. And she's been able to keep all of that afloat. But then, it's almost secondary now to when she comes on this and just riles people up completely. But you can't underestimate that. She is able to keep all of that going. So she's savvy enough to realize, and especially when you do a housewife about reality shows and podcasts like she does with Freddie Mellencamp, is you become really cognizant. You recognize patterns, not just in your own show, but in other shows. And I don't listen to it, but I believe she talks about a lot of different housewife shows. So she's out there studying the game. And that's why, like I've been saying the last couple of episodes, is Tamra treats this like a reality competition series. And this week's episode, we really nail into that fact that she literally is doing a mock-up game of the Traitors, which, by the way, like I said, which I hated. I was like, man, they found a really cool way to make the Traitors seem really boring. Like, how many people watched this that haven't watched the Traitors and was like, you know what? I got to watch the Traitors now. That was pretty damn good. I can imagine zero people. But you got to give Tamra her flowers. I just think it's very frustrating because even in the game of the Traitors, everybody says, "Oh, who is the biggest traitor in this group?" Everybody said Tamra. Everybody. And she's also able to, I think she's a very sensitive soul, Tamra, but I also think I don't want to say understands the assignment, because usually when I say that about people, there's more of a savviness to it. And like I said, I feel like there's a clumsiness with Tamra and her moves, but sometimes what she's working with on the OC are people that buy it hook, line, and sinker. So even that moment where everybody said Tamra was a traitor, I thought, how funny. They're all aware of it. They all know. And that's when you see that, like, this truly isn't just a group of really good friends, really good girlfriends. It's not. It's a bunch of people that work together. They're on a company outing. These are people that just work with each other and they kind of know each other's shit, but that's the deal. You got to put up with it during the season. Because my big question coming away from any season with Tamra is like, why does any of these people talk to her at all? Why? How? But Tamra's that really, this is what I'm saying. It's a compliment. It's not my favorite type of housewife, but it's a compliment because she's that type of housewife that in a scene, it must feel like she really cares. Like, when she's talking to Shannon, even in this week's episode of like, I know the John stuff. I mean, but Alexis is worried about you, Shannon. Bullshit. Just to take Tamara's big outburst from a couple weeks ago, lies, 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 lies. You know that Alexis is not saying shit like that. And you are just procuring more information, making Shannon believe that you are a good friend. And all the while, you are just a housewives machine. And I know that's a necessary character. And I think that's part of the reason why I enjoy this season so much is that we are all so cognizant of all of these housewives now, where it's like playing the same video game over and over again. And you're just like, okay, we got to this part, we got to this part. And sometimes I'm like, show me something new. And I don't mean Teddy Mellencamp. No, I don't. We'll get to that. I mean, come on. You go from Alan Cumming to Teddy Mellencamp. That's not even fair for Teddy. I felt bad for her. I mean, she's trying to do a little character, and I was like, oh man. But listen, that's another thing that keeps people complaining and bitching. Name in the game, right? So Alexis, though, does seem to be fairly concerned with keeping her name out in the press. When we were always to assume that John Janssen wanted to keep his name out of the press. So for somebody that was always, we were told, was very private, very secret, very embarrassed by all of this, had trouble with work, which, by the way, I said that we did a live Patreon Thursday, which thank you for coming. We'll make sure we announce it sooner this time because it was kind of last minute, but it was great. We were just going off on everything. And I was like, there's so many Bravo detectives out there, so many Redditors. I mean, people that are digging through everything. Can somebody flip and tell me what John Janssen seriously does for a living? And is he super rich or is he super poor? How do I know everything about Tom Girardi and Erica Jane, but I know close to zero about John Janssen? Can somebody break this down for me? How are we get every piece of information about everybody that's ever lived, but John Janssen remains this mystery. Like he could be Elon Musk or he could be Elon Musk. That could go either way, good and bad. You know what? Like it really, like, I'm like, is he rich or is he poor? Does he need the money or does he not need the money? Could we get a solid answer? He's always showing up to events now in like a snakeskin leather coat. And I'm like, what are you, Nicolas Cage? Calm down. Just bring it down a notch, please. It's like jump scares everywhere. They should have just entitled this episode Jump Scares. Anyway, how are you guys doing? We're 12 minutes in. I didn't even ask how. Are you excited? This is a holiday weekend, I guess. I don't know. It's a holiday weekend, so I hope you guys are doing something amazing with family and friends. And like I said, this will be a really loose episode. I guess a lot of my episodes could be considered loose. And I'm just going to rant and rave, and we'll go through it. We'll have a lot of fun. We'll do what we normally do. But thank you for being here. Thank you for always supporting me. We had a great week of shows. Nomi Fry from the New Yorker and the podcast Critics at Large we had Ronald Richards, the attorney Ronald Richards. We had Blocked by Jax on Monday. Who am I forgetting? I think I probably did a solo episode. Who am Christian Grey Snow, who is doing the podcast with Vicky Gunvalson right now. And that was a fantastic conversation. And it was right at the right time because Vicky makes another appearance this week. Vicky Gunvalson, of course, as we said on that podcast, is recovering. She had like stroke-like symptoms, had sepsis. She was given like a 10 to 20% chance to live. And she was just babbling incoherently, which I know you could say a lot of housewives do that on the regular, but this was a really scary situation. And I listened to that podcast where they were talking about it, and it was just really emotional. And it really shows you that parasocial relationship that I even have, where we've talked about this concept of like, I don't think I can watch any of these people pass ever. Like, it's like, I hope I go before all of them because I can't handle it. I cannot handle that thought. And I know I'm predisposed to dark thoughts anyways, but it's still like, it's just like, oh no, please, can we just get rid of Bravo entirely so I just don't have to like pay attention to any of this because it'll just hurt. It'll hurt. I mean, even like one season ones, like, you just hope that everybody's going to be okay forever. Like, I don't want bad things for people I don't like on these shows, like bad things. I just want to be able to rant and bitch about it like a normal TV viewer. Let's see here. I wanted to talk about this really quickly too. And I always hesitate, even though a lot of people say talk about it, but I don't want to become the grief guy, because I know we all lose somebody very important in our lives. But we came the year anniversary of mom's passing was this past Sunday. And if you listen to the OC recap last week, that was like I did that like all Friday night, and it took me 7 hours because I was just such in a weird headspace with it all. And I would watch a scene, I would talk about it, and then I would like kind of slump over in my chair, like reserving energy or something. And I think there was such a heaviness leading up to that because I think your body and your mind kind of is like, oh, it's going to be bad. This is going to be bad. So getting past Sunday was so big and I felt such a load off. Isn't that so weird? Just because it's a certain date or a certain time, and I know everything is time, but time, like we talk about all the time, means nothing, seems like anymore. I mean, since the pandemic, time has really not meant a lot. And I just kind of do this all the time. So it's even meant less and less. But then when you have these real benchmarks, these really important moments, and especially really sad, tragic ones, those become really big and they're foreign to you if you haven't really experienced it before because it was really hard to her birthday this past year in July. And then coming up on the year, you're just like bracing for impact because you don't know what your body and your mind's going to go through. And you're worried about your dad and your family and all of that stuff. And also trying to honor the good memories of your mom and trying to keep her name alive and out there, which is so funny because it's not like she, you know, was like a political figure or a celebrity, but she was a celebrity to me. And so it was such a relief to get past that. And I've smiled a lot more this week than I have in a minute. And just think there was just kind of this weight off. But I wanted to share with you because I want to honor these things too. And I don't get to do this nearly as much as they come in terms of like messages about everybody else's grief and what they're going through. But my dad, we were talking and he got this really beautiful letter the other day. And I wanted to read this to you guys and talk about it for a second. And I know sometimes it's not your speed. You're here to watch a grown man make an idiot of himself talking about housewives, but there's plenty of time for that, you guys. This was a letter from a listener to my dad, which is just amazing too when you guys remember my dad in that way. But it says, Dear Mr. Bailey, I'm a listener of So Bad It's Good, and I have a cool story I wanted to tell you about kindness coming full circle. I was one of those listeners who sent Mrs. Bailey a postcard when we found out she liked them. You guys know this by now that a lot of you sent in, like we got like 1,000 postcards to my mom those last couple of months that she was, alive. And they meant the world for her. And it was the wildest thing because my mom liked attention, but didn't like attention at the same time. But she really liked being on the podcast. She really, and I will say my podcast has suffered not having her on. And there was a really great chemistry between my dad and my mom, just people that had been together for 53 years, which was really funny to listen to and be a part of, and I'm their son. And I found it like such a different experience. But I remember she was doing really bad one day and somebody had sent her a postcard or something. And she was like, that was really nice. And I really like that. And I forgot what it was, like a picture of something. And she's like, I just keep dreaming about this picture and going there. I forgot where it was. Maybe it was like Alcatraz or something, but like it was something. And I go, Mom, it sounds like you really like that. I said, would you want more postcards? Would you like, and would you like, maybe listeners to send you some postcards and check, see how you're doing? And normally my mom would have shot that down in a minute. Like, no, 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 that's a waste. That's a waste. That's a waste. No, 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 no. And this time my mom was like, yeah, I would be okay with that. And I remember clocking that as such a big moment because of how I was used to my mom being. And I remember it kind of scared me because I was like, oh, mom's really scared because she was such a strong person. She wasn't, we didn't have those conversations where it was like, we had conversations about death and what we think is to come and all of that. But it, it it was never like, I have a hard time finding the words. It was never of full breakdown of like, I'm so scared, I'm so angry. I know she felt all of those things. And that just wasn't her. I mean, she had her moments, and especially once like the medicine and all that, it really changed certain aspects of her personality, which I was such a bummer for all of us, but especially for her, because I think in certain moments she realized it. But yeah, like, and then everybody just sent it, like, started sending postcards in, and she was so fun. She was like it was like a queen. She was like, "Oh, your dad got the mail today, a huge stack. Yeah, I don't even know how I'm gonna get through these. It's too much on my." Somebody sent this beautiful mushroom blanket. Somebody sent a something about her T-shirt. I mean, people were then sending gifts. People, Juliana sent like movies, magazines. Like, I mean, it was wild. And I said this on the Patreon this week because I've been recapping the first season of Vanderpump Rules over there, and it's been really fun. But I said I have all of no, maybe it was on a cameo I did that I said this. I'm sorry. I like I said, I'm so disorganized, but I have all of those postcards and those letters in a box, in a tub. And I just because I want to go through them and reach out to everybody at some point, and I just haven't been able to do it. Like normally I'm not, but I just haven't emotionally been able to do it yet, but I think I'm getting there because it was something that our whole family didn't take lightly. But anyway, sorry, to back to this letter, back to this beautiful letter. Um, she says, I've been a caregiver for my mom the last 5 to 6 years. So your family's journey with her illness was so relatable to me. And listening to the show also provided comic relief to talking about silly shows. Well, on a recent special occasion with my mom, I thought we had done a good job of celebrating as best we could, only for her to slip and break a hip again and require another surgery at the end of the night. By the time I got home from the hospital the next day, I literally pulled the covers over my head to hide out from life. I put on So Bad It's Good and closed my eyes, imagine my shock when I heard my name on the show. I thought I was just exhausted, so I leapt out of bed and rewound it to be sure, and it was Ryan reading a portion of the card I'd sent to your family about the importance of showing kindness to one another where we can. It was such a moment of encouragement to me, hearing my own words read back to me at a moment I needed oomph to keep going with the caregiver journey. Today, I set down my caregiver backpack as my mom passed away this morning. I am reflecting on gratitude on those who have made the journey better for me, and you and Ryan have done that for me via the show by teaching me that it's okay to grieve and to laugh and to keep alternating rinse and repeat. Thank you for sharing your family's journey with me and so many others who can relate. And this is from Corey McGraw in Tucson, Arizona. And Corey, my gosh, to write such a beautiful letter and to share with my family what you and your family are going through, I don't even know. You are a better person than I because I have not had the strength to do that. I can do this, and that's pretty much it. um, but wow, Corey, I just hope you're okay. And what you said there is something that I keep repeating myself all year is about kindness and these little moments of kindness and trying to find as Brittany Cartwright would say, I want my sparkle back, trying to find your sparkle in just all of these clouds and doom and gloom and every one of your mistakes, like it just everything this year has just been a shit show, but there is hope. And that's why I think I do so much of this because it's the thing that gives me hope and it's the thing that keeps my mind off of some of the other things. And don't worry, I'm in therapy now and that's really hard and it's been going really I think it's been going well and I'm on medication. I'm doing a lot. I'm trying to exercise, doing all of these things that I'm like, oh, why can't I just be normal and not do any of this shit? But, Corey, just that was a beautiful letter, and it moved my dad so much, and it moved me as well. And that's what it's all about is this connection, whatever it is. I know this is just silly at the end of the day, but this is what it's about, is sharing these stories and trying to feel less alone, because at the end of the day, we do go out of this world alone, but hopefully we go out of it carrying all of the love of everyone, of all of the laughs we had, of all of the struggles that led to triumph, learning from our past mistakes, keeping going in spite of all of that darkness. And that's what I'm learning it's all about, but I fail every day at it. So it's really great to have a letter like that where you're just like, man, we're all the same. No matter, there's so much hate out there, right? There's so much hate. But at the end of the day, we're all there's good. There's so much good. And sometimes we gotta focus on, we can't focus on Teddy being on Orange County. We gotta focus on the good. But we will focus on Teddy in Orange County in a second. But you know, and I'm saying this as somebody that's saying I know nothing. I am not an expert. I don't know. Like I said, I fail all the time. I get so disappointed and ashamed of myself sometimes. I um uh, I don't know. And so I can't come on here and pretend that but what I feel in my heart is that this is what it's all about, is connection. And I hope someday to be able to connect in a better way than just screaming on a podcast about housewives. Is to be able to reach out. Like my therapist this week is like, yo, she doesn't say yo, yo, dog. She's like, hey, you insulate yourself so deeply and you don't reach out to people. You don't want to hang out with people. You don't like talking on the phone. Like this is my one form. Like I have Rebecca and I have my family and I am like, well, that's my life. And I know that's not healthy. And that's where therapy has been good, of like gently presenting other ideas and other ways to look at something and to do something, things that will ultimately be better for your heart and your soul. Uh, I almost just choked on my breath. So anyways, I wanted to say that I know sometimes this kind of stuff brings the show down a little bit, but don't worry, we're going to rev it right back up in a second. But thank you also for allowing me the space to do this, because in my head, I negative talk everything. That's the other thing. I've always known this, but it's even more aware of it in therapy, is that when I say this stuff, there's a strong visualization in my head of people just rolling their eyes, giving a jack off motion, like, oh, Jesus, here he goes. I'm gonna go take a crap. I can't hear this guy moan and groan. So that's what I see in my head. So that's why I kind of always apologize about this. And I don't ever stop to think about the positive of, wow, we are connecting right now, right? It's so much deeper than television and pop culture that's what got us here. But maybe we can talk about anything. And that's why I'd like to talk to you guys about rectal exam. Yeah. And then he ruined it. So, anyways, Corey, we are thinking about you. Me and my dad and this audience are thinking about you. Caregivers are, my dad was a caregiver to my mom, and he is so proud of that in the end. And I know what he went through that experience. And what you did for your mom, incredible, amazing, outstanding. You crushed it. You really killed it. You did amazing. And that kind of strength is just amazing. And the same thing with hospice workers. It's an incredible field that I would never have any guts to do. But though the hospice workers, wow. Okay. Anyways, I got to get off this topic because now I'm just going to go down a rabbit hole. Hey guys, welcome to the show. Okay, let's get to something funny. Corey, we love you. Okay, let's get something that is going to make me laugh. So I've been rewatching season 1 of Vanderpump Rules for the Patreon, and I just put out episode 6, the recap, and that's when Jax gets caught. Well, he gets caught having sex with Laura Lee in the in the Sir bathroom, but lies about it. He also has sex at a sushi restaurant bathroom with Laura Lee as well. And Stassi and Frank break up in the first season. It's a really fantastic season, and we're up to episode 6. You can get all those episodes over there on the Patreon if you want something extra. But I feel like a historian at this point. This is like a sociological experiment looking at human behavior. Is going back and watching the first season has deeply affected me in so many ways, because you just see so many patterns that are still going with all of the Vanderpump Rules cast. I mean, that happens with all reality show people. We see the same thing with Tamra, with Shannon, in the OC completely. But it's wild. And there was this iconic scene from season 10 with Ken, where he comes in, he stumbles into a scene where Katie Maloney and Lisa Vanderpump are like cooking up sandwiches in the kitchen, and then it's the it's the worst Machina. It's like it's so staged. I don't think Katie knew what was going to happen, but it was so staged. Like here comes Ken, like sauntering slowly in, and he's like, "Oh God, I'll talk to you so second." So here's the initial audio, and then I'll tell you that this is not the first time Ken Todd has been a gossip assassin. This guy has been doing it since season 1. I know your game, Ken Todd. I know your game, and it's not. I now know it. So we get this guy's a menace. Now listen to this. This is from season 10.
I can't believe
Tom
Sandoval had Raquel over when Ariana's away.
I know.
In the jacuzzi as well.
What?
And she stayed all night.
Wait, that's my favorite part when he goes, I just saw his voice. I just saw her. I can't believe I was in the jacuzzi with Raquel. Was alone with Ariana.
I know.
Are you lying?
That.
Are you spreading rumors?
Mark,
I can't believe.
I can't believe
that
Tom Sandoval had Raquel.
I like when he gets sexy. I can't believe that Tom Sandoval was in the jacuzzi. That's how I imagine like sexy Ken Todd. I can't believe I just took my underpants off. Can you believe that? I can't believe that. Okay, but let's see. When his voice goes like 3 different octaves here in a second, we don't talk about this enough.
When Ariana's away.
I know.
In the jacuzzi as well.
What?
And she stayed all night.
I don't mind. Okay, so that was and then as quick as he didn't really enter quickly. It was like a slow enter, but he exits very quick. He's like, I've done my job here. It's all about the jacuzzi. I'm gonna go back to drinking tea on the porch. Like he just gets out of there, right? But then I'm watching season 1, episode 6, and then get this shit. Okay, Lisa is having a very important meeting with the publicist for Sir Restaurant. She's like, "Oh, I think we should do. We have to do a happy hour, and we'll push all the food, and we'll invite restaurant critics because our dinner service is so amazing. But we need to expand." And Ken is there in this meeting, just holding the dog, holding Jiggy, and just like, well, when is it time for me to say my thing? And then this is what he says.
Did you hear the rumor?
No.
I don't know how I'm going to.
Did you hear the rumor? No. I don't know. I'm going to tell you this. He's like, oh, I've done it again. Uh-oh, Ken. What have you done?
The security the other night walked into the bathroom in Sir Lounge. And
by the way, do you hear that in the background? They put this bubble noise like, it was found in the bathroom. And then there was like this weird bubble sound effect of like, I don't even know what that means.
And Laurelie were naked in the bathroom having sex. Naked in the bathroom.
Ken says naked a second time again. Naked. God's clothing. God, yeah, naked. No skivvies. Yeah. No temple garments.
How many people saw that?
Hold on a second.
Nobody saw it, only the security.
Naked on the bathroom floor. Don't be ridiculous.
I mean, the only mistake he made was not to lock the door.
Oh, for sake, you're like becoming a softie. All I have.
All right, Ken. He said, only mistake he made, he didn't lock the door. He could have finished his job. Ken, you pervert. I love that he's like, did anybody see? He's like, no, well, it's just security. Security, so no customers. So, I mean, truly insane. Sir is like the only restaurant where I imagine people are having sex in there all the time, like employees mainly. Like I figure they don't even do it at their own home. Like they just wait to get to work to have sex. I feel like that's probably still going on. There's got to be one person at the Sir that's there now that's always trying to like be on a show. Like, hey, like always thinks they're auditioning. So they're just always doing crazy shit. And Peter's like, well, we're never going to make a show out of you guys. You guys don't have what it takes. There's no Jaxes or Stasis in this group. But I just thought very important to get a little bit of history on these things, that Ken Todd has been pulling the same shit from season 1 to season 10. Maybe Ken Todd is the architect. Maybe he is the puppet master of the entire Vanderpump Rules gang.
Hey everyone, before we get in.
That was I have these little sound effects buttons that I rarely use. And I had like the kin speech in there, and then I just hit. Well, I got some other good ones here. You can rot in fucking hell, Jax. You can rot in fucking hell.
Knock your ass out.
Well, that was Dodie saying, I will knock your ass out. What else do we got here? We have a Tom Sandoval apology.
I'm not a smart man. I'm not a smart man.
I'm not a smart man. That was probably in regards to a Sandoval joke. But we'll end it once again with the most perfect scene that I've ever seen. Ken Todd.
I can't believe
Tom
Sandoval had Raquel over when Ariana's away.
Away.
In the
I know.
jacuzzi as well.
What?
And she stayed all night. Yeah.
I don't
believe that.
Are you spreading rumors?
Marky, come on. I can't.
Marky, come on, time to leave the scene. We did what we just wanted, Emmy. Come on, let's go, Marky. Please, please, hustle.